My name's Adam Manaka and I'm the Financial Controller for Hi-Tech Oils. With our national capacity, we can now service Australian companies nationwide. Of late, we have now expanded into the New Zealand market. Here at Hi-Tech Oils, we receive premium base oils and premium additive packs. Together, with our highly trained staff, we manufacture over 500 premium quality products. Hi-Tech Oils is Australian made and Australian owned.
Welcome to the nation's action track, Winton Motor Raceway, for round 3 of the 2018 Australian Super Truck Championship. I'm your commentator, Lachlan Mansell. It's a beautiful day here at Winton Motor Raceway in regional Victoria as we get set for some awesome truck racing, a good crowd of spectators in attendance and a great truck show as well for people to enjoy the off-track festivities at Winton. It's going to be a mega few races coming up, and it's my great pleasure to welcome Gary O'Brien into the commentary box. How are you going, Gary?
Good, thanks, Lockie. Hello, everyone. Really looking forward to this one. What superb weather. What a good build-up we're going to have. Coming into this round, of course, Steve Zammit leads the way on 146 points. Shannon Smith second on 109. Barry Butwell and Marcus Pruitt's the teammates on 103 and 98 respectively.
And Lachlan Fern, the best of the line trucks in the Isuzu, ahead of Craig Yardy. Robbie Fern in the ex-John Ford Foldo in 7th position, ahead of Frankie Amoroso.
It's a really good feeling at the moment. The truck's absolutely performing perfectly. Anything could happen. We're going to sing out the front and stay out there, hopefully. So, no, it's a good feeling being up front. Barry's got a really quick truck and he's going to be holding my heels today. But, you know, we sort of set it in cement yesterday. We got the lap record yesterday, something that I set a year ago, which was a 14-year-old lap record from Luke Cedars. So it's something that we've been working as a team to get, and to smash my own lap record yesterday was a team achievement. So, yeah, it was pretty good.
Yeah, it's been good. It's always hard, but yeah, a lot of work goes into it, but it's been good. The truck's performing probably better than it has, so we're really happy with that.
I think at the moment I'm 4th in the points score, which is probably the best I've ever done. I don't think I'll get any better than that. There's some fairly stiff competition between my team partner Barry and Shannon and Steve Zammit. Yeah, I'm probably doing the best I'll do at the moment, which I'm happy with. Yeah.
Oh, the track's a lot better. Winton actually got a special, like a mobile pressure washer in, and washed all the bitumen, the rubber that was actually impregnated into the bitumen from the last round, where we had so much trouble with trying to get grip. So they brought this pressure washer machine in and drove around the track, and the track's actually spot on now. It's got some really good grip.
Yep, we've had some consistency this weekend. The weather's been a lot better than the last meeting. It was wet, dry, wet, so it's hard to get the truck set up for the track. It's been good this weekend. Still a few issues with the back end, trying to get it to in on the corners, so we'll see how it goes today.
A little bit behind at the moment. Had a couple of misfortunes and accidents yesterday and hit the wall yesterday, then blew a turbocharger, so a little bit behind. Yeah, truck's pretty good on this track. It's a little bit big for this track, but yeah, we've made some more adjustments on suspension and we've got it going really good at the moment, so best it's going to go.
I'm loving it. It's going really good, pulling up good. Just it's got so much power. It's got so much potential. It's just really good. It's pretty difficult because I'm still getting used to it, but it's really good. It's a good track. You get to pick up speed. Just it's a bit tight some places. Some places you get to pick up heaps of speed, but it's different, you know.
Yeah, I love Winton. It suits us little trucks. We sort of, you know, we're a lot more nimble than the bigger trucks. So, you know, the tighter corners really suits our little trucks. Yeah, look, they're all competitors, you know, we're all mates off the field, but when we put our helmets on, that's where it all changes. You know, a lot of touching up out there, but, you know, it's all the fun of it.
Yeah, it's good, perfect conditions. Unlike last time, it was raining all weekend. Actually, be competitive this time, so it's good. I prefer it much more than Goulburn. Like the little trucks, love the little corners, which is good. They're a bit more competitive. Catch up to the bigger ones, so it's good fun.
Trucks are lining up, getting ready to go for race number 2 of the weekend, and the man starting on pole position, a man who's very familiar to running up the front. It's the 5-time and defending champion Stephen Zammit, who broke the lap record in race number 1 before driving on to take the win ahead of Barry Butwell. Shannon Smith will start out of grid position number 3, and then it's Frank Avaroso, Craig Yardy, Marcus Prilwitz and Lachlan Fern the next ones through, with Robbie Fern and Anthony Tringali rounding out our field.
Yeah, Zammit won all races at the opening round. He had his work cut out the second. Barry Butwell took a couple of wins of him, and here they are lined up side by side.
Here's confirmation of your grid positions. So Shannon Smith, who's had some good pace at some of the rounds this year, comes into this weekend second overall in the championship. Frank Amoroso, shocker for him the last time at Winton Motor Raceway. He'll be looking for a resurgence in form this weekend. Craig Yardy, the best of the light trucks in the Isuzu. We've got plenty of onboard camera angles to cover all of the action for you. We'll be riding on board Shannon Smith in the ex-John Bomburley Kenworth T900. He's been in the thick of the action in both of the rounds that we've seen so far in the Australian Super Truck Championships. We'll get ourselves ready for the double file rolling start. 6 laps the journey for this opening race of the weekend.
Zammit's controls the start, but Butwell will be keen to go with him. He won't want to have the same thing happening in race 1 where Zammit just rocked away from the field.
Side by side they go down into turn number 1, and it is Barry Butwell trying to hang tough on the outside of Stephen Zammit. We go on board with the reigning champion, and Butwell's going to work hard on the outside, and if he can do it, he'll have the inside for the next corner. There's a bump, there's grinding between the two leaders. Zammit gets shuffled back to third because Shannon Smith fires it down the inside, and so too does Frank Amoroso heading into the sweeper.
Amoroso's the one that's come out tops here. He's in second position. Smith in third now. Zammit tries to fire back on the inside. Not quite close enough. He won't do it there.
That's experience, isn't it, from Frank Amoroso? He saw a bit of bumping and grinding going on between the race leaders. He decided, yep, okay, I'm going to be in the perfect position to capitalise on that. Made up 2 positions and now runs in second place behind Barry Butwell in the Max Superliner.
Oh, and Amoroso gets it wide out of that corner. Can Smith get down the inside of him and get that position away?
It's going to be a big braking duel as they head into the S's, turns 8, 9 and 10 on this opening lap. Amoroso defensive on the inside. He will hold onto second position. Shannon Smith has to tuck back into third spot. Out of the last corner they come. Butwell with a handy lead. Massive sideways moment for Amoroso. Holds onto it, moves it across to the inside. I think Shannon Smith got balked up a bit there. Stephen Zammit up to third place.
I think Smith bowed out of that. He thought there was going to be drama there and he opted out of it. And what has happened, it's let Zammit through.
Frank Amoroso has always been renowned for this flamboyant sideways driving style. Not always the fastest, but he certainly knows how to put on a show. He was doing it right there. That was full opposite lock that he had coming out of that last corner, but now he's got a couple of hungry Kenworths hunting him down in the form of Stephen Zammit and Shannon Smith.
And there Smith had another look at him as we go down towards the cleavage part of the Winton Motor Raceway. Again, though, you can see Amoroso whole sway out in front. And of course, Fate Racing's been around since the late 80s. Been going long and strong, and Amoroso has finally won a championship a couple of years ago. But this time I think we might see Zammit go down the inside of him, although Amoroso does move across. He's done a good job of protecting his position.
He's pretty hard to pass, Frank Amoroso. He and Stephen Zammit went wheel to wheel in their battle for the 2014 Australian Super Truck Championship, as you mentioned, but he's thrown it off the road. Frank Amoroso, again, a big overcorrection on the exit of the final corner. That's what it looks like on board, but he's lost a couple of spots at least out of that one.
Yeah, and I think he's kicking himself too if he could take his foot off the pedals for long enough. Certainly a bad mistake to make there.
Great onboard shot, which shows you just how physical the drivers are behind the wheels of these things. Amoroso, the most experienced driver in the field with almost 3 decades of super truck racing experience. The other driver who's starting to do a pretty good job and work his way into the equation here, Marcus Prilwitz, the second of the Max Superliners. We go on board with him at the moment. That truck's a bit different to some of the others. It runs in what's known as Class B because it runs a full manual gearbox, not the semi-automatic gearbox that the other trucks run.
And you can see by the dash, the way it's all lit up there and the gauges, very much modern race machinery. They're not your old double bogies that they used to run many years ago.
Drillwit's trying to get on the power coming out of turn number 7. Here's a replay of, this was on the opening lap. We saw Stephen Zammit and Barry Butwell grinding it out. Neither one of them wanted to yield in that battle for the lead, but in the end it was Stephen Zammit who came off second best.
Here's a good shot of it from upstairs, you might say, on top of the cabin of Butwell's truck, and you don't really appreciate it from inside just how loose Zammit got getting out of that corner and what could have potentially brought his race undone very quickly.
This is what it looks like on board with Shannon Smith's truck. So he was tucked up in behind Frank Amoroso. There goes Stephen Zammit off to the right of shot. Shannon Smith on through at the sweeper. And this is why Frank Amoroso dropped a couple of spots. Massive understeer coming into the second to last corner. Dropped all 4 wheels off the racetrack. Kept the boot into it to try and not lose too much momentum. But in the end, he had to give away those 2 spots.
Zammit's in truck camera in our case, and he sees immediately, yep, I'm past this one, and one-handedly just drives on, takes that position away. There's our race leader, Barry Butwell in the Mack Superliner, clear at the moment. Can he hold on, take the win? He's had a good start. He's certainly got a gap that he needs to try and keep the reigning champion at bay.
There's been some times this year where Butwell's pace has been really impressive and he's pulled away at the front of the field with a bit of clear track. His teammate Marcus Brewitz has had a few good results as well. Now, what's going on up here? We've got a massive cloud of dust. Somebody's had an excursion somewhere because there was a lot of dirt being kicked up with somebody obviously dropping wheels off the track.
That might have been Zammit actually, because he's ahead of Smith there. They've still got a fair bit of a gap to make up to the race leader. And we can hear more tyre dramas in the background there as well. But now we can see Pruitt's putting the pressure on Amoroso to get that position away as well.
So Shannon Smith has closed right up onto Stephen Zammit in that battle for second and third position. Stephen Zammit still lapping a bit quicker than Shannon Smith at the moment. Barry Butwell currently holds the fastest lap of the race, 1 minute 14.9, which was set back on lap number 2. That's only a tenth of a second away from the lap record that Stephen Zammit set in race 1, so Butwell's pace at the front of this field pretty strong.
Well, you've got to give credit to Zammit too, because overnight they had to rebuild the bell housing on that truck. It split in one of the teams' races yesterday, and through this man, Frank Amoroso, Fate Racing, and quite a few of the other teams chipped in as well. They worked till the early hours this morning to get that car back out there and running, or that truck out there and running again.
Here's another one of our runners, Robbie Fern, in the Volvo Super Truck. Now, this is a truck that was quite successful for quite a few seasons in the hands of John Falk. Robbie Fern bought it a couple of years ago. He and his son Lachlan Fern decided that they were going to go truck racing. And Robbie Fern, every race meeting that he does, as he gets more experience, he gets closer and closer to the front of the field. Yeah,
he actually had a win in one of the races yesterday and looked likely he might have doubled up, but got hip and shoulder going into turn 1 and put it into the wall. Not heavily, but enough to put him out of for the rest of the day. But he's back strong again today and running well.
And the other one running a bit further back in the pack there, the international Transstar of Anthony Tringali, another relative newcomer to truck racing. That truck made its debut last year, back on board with Frank Amoroso. You can see there that he's got the semi-automatic gearbox, so no clutch. All the driver has to do with those gearboxes is select the gear.
A bit like a sequential gearbox in a race car, Lockie.
Here is Shannon Smith, so he's just fallen off the back of Stephen Zammit at the moment, so Zammit looking pretty secure in second position at this stage. We are now on the final lap of the race, race number 2 for round number 3 of the Australian Super Truck Championship, presented for this round by Coburg Truck Parts.
And there he is. You can see Smith in the background trying to take the right line, not get that oversteer problem, although he did have a little bit of a brake lock up there going into that corner, but gets it underway quite well as well. So he'll get a nice third out of this if he stays where he is.
had to apply a bit of opposite lock on the exit of turn number 5 there, Shannon Smith, and more again as well as he gets a bit of sideways action going coming out of the last corner, but coming through the final sequence of turns to pick up victory in race number 2 of the weekend here at Winton Motor Raceway. Congratulations to Barry Butwell in the Max Superliner. He is your race winner.
He's a potential rival to Zammit. There's Zammit going across the line now as we speak, but Butwell got a couple of wins at the previous round here at Winton Motor Raceway. Just needs to keep that form going now for the rest of today, and it'll all come down to the wire when we go to our final round.
He's had, as I mentioned, pace at various stages this season, but they've lacked a bit of reliability in that truck. If they can keep Barry Butwell's truck on the track, keep him out there finishing races in good positions, then he will end up in a pretty good position in the championship. Here's Anthony Tringali, the new driver that we were talking about earlier, and he finishes up the race in position number 7.
Race winner Barry Butwell now has 1, as opposed to Zammit with 1 as well. So 2 more races to go, and it's looking pretty tight at the top.
So Barry Butwell, your race winner. Final margin, a bit over 7 seconds in the end, back to Stephen Zammit. So the fact that Zammit and Shannon Smith and Frank Amoroso were all battling so vigorously for position in the early laps, plus the fact that Butwell had such good pace, really allowed him to build up quite a margin at the end. Here's confirmation of the final results. Fastest lap of the race, 1 minute 14.9, going to Barry Butwell as well.
Stephen Zammit, second across the line. Clear of Shannon Smith, Frank Amoroso, Marcus Brillwitz came home in 5th spot.
Yeah, it was good out there. Managed to hold on the outside on the first couple of corners and got a bit of a break from him, and there's a traffic all mounted up, and had the race to myself and just had to concentrate.
Yeah, definitely a lot going on. Me and Barry were neck and neck going through the first 2 turns, and I think we both come together, and I think one of his side pods hit the nut cover and steered me in the infield. So, but you know, I was quite lucky I recovered, only come back to 4th, and watched Frank and Shannon have a good dice together and took full advantage of a couple of mishaps. So I'm pretty happy with coming back to 2nd, and yeah, no, it was a good result for us.
It was pretty exciting. Frank was all over the shop. He was every which way but straight, but I wasn't sure if he was going to T-bone the wall or I was going to T-bone him, so yeah, it was pretty exciting.
Yeah, we got a pretty good start actually. The 2 boys in front of me were banging wheels down the back straight before we even started the race actually. And I knew they'd muck up on the first corner, so I got around in a good spot actually, and it was good for the first couple of laps, but the truck's running out. Once it's gone to about 4 laps, the tyres are going off, so we're trying to rectify it now actually, but hopefully the next race will be better.
Stephen Zammit and Barry Butwell now 1-all with race wins. Stick around because we're going to reverse the field for race 3 on the other side of this break.
Series is going great actually. It's the crowds are just increasing every meeting we come to. As you can see, there's a lot of things for people to do. We're getting a couple of good sponsors. Coburg Trucks are sponsoring this round, and they've been really terrific. So I just nothing else I can say about it. It's just been really great. Atmosphere is really good. You can't get the 100 mile an hour here, but I tell you, it's pretty close. Just get to about 159, 58. So you just, but Winton, at Wakefield, you can actually break the speed limit, right? So, but they're exactly the same length. Great, they're both terrific.
Time now for race number 3, and that means, Gary O'Brien, that we've reversed the finishing positions from race number 2. So we've got the fast trucks coming through from the back of the field.
Yeah, battling each other, particularly our 1 and 2 from race 1 and 2. In Barry Butwell and Steve Zammit, they're going to have to fight their way against each other and get past these other guys.
Not easy to do. I don't think there's a category where track position is more important than the super trucks, and we've seen that when you start driving defensively, it can be difficult to overtake. Good to see that one of the light trucks has made it back out onto the circuit. That's Craig Yardy in the Isuzu SBR from up on the north coast of New South Wales. These light trucks can sometimes take the fire up to the bigger and more powerful machines, especially on a technical track like Winton Motor Raceway. And it will be Anthony Tringali who will get to start up the front of the grid by virtue of the fact that he was the last classifying finisher in race number 2.
Yeah, and he's got Rob Fern alongside of him, and we know what he did from yesterday in the teams event. He was very quick in the first race, won that one, almost had a 1-2 with Lockie Fern second until basically near the end, and just unfortunately had a little bit of an off and finished 4th. But Fern will be strong, and there's, of course, we're looking at Steve Zammit, a 5 times truck racing champion, aiming for number 6 this year.
It's looking pretty good for him so far. He's won both of the rounds that we've had coming into this weekend, done a lot of work on his fitness over the off-season. Stephen Zammit, here are your grid positions. Anthony Tringali leading ahead of Robbie Fern. Marcus Prilwitz and Frank Amoroso will be on the second row. Shannon Smith and Stephen Zammit on positions 5 and 6. And we go back to Barry Butwell in 7th position. And then the 2 light trucks of Craig Yardy and Lachlan Fern rounding out the field as the Winton safety car turns its lights out and gets ready to pull off into the pits. It'll be up to our pole sitter Anthony Tringali to set the pace at this start, but watch for some of those fast drivers, particularly the likes of Smith, Zammit and Butwell fighting their way through from the rear of the field.
You've got to say Zammit's got a little bit of advantage. He's 1 row ahead, but that doesn't mean a lot here when you've got that many trucks in front of you.
Anthony Tringali, a nice solid start, but Robbie Fern around the outside. Amoroso, we know that his racecraft is good. He likes to pick up early race positions, and contacts between Stephen Zammit and Shannon Smith, who both end up going across the grass on the apex at turn number 2. Barry Butwell decides to stay to the outside to minimise his chances of being involved. We've got another one off the road. That's Tringali. Our pole sitter's gone at the sweeper. Big spin, big cloud of dust, and unfortunately that advantage that he had from starting up the front all gone in the space of a few corners.
Now the thing that Zammit didn't want to do is give away a spot to Butwell, and he has, through not his own fault I might add, with that little bit of contact with Smith in turn 2, but now he's got to do it the hard way, fight back. We're watching Yardy in behind him at the moment in the first of the Isuzus, and they should have a good battle, those two, I reckon, as well.
The Isuzus, they're really good through the corners. They don't have the straight line performance of the bigger super trucks, as Barry Butwell goes around the outside of his teammate Marcus Prilwitz to pick up another spot. But we have seen in the past, Gary, that those light trucks, particularly if you put somebody like Steve Coulter behind the wheel, still capable of getting a good outright result.
Yeah, could have been a bit of team tactics there. There wasn't. Prilwitz lets Zammit get past him and take up the chase as they hunt down our race leaders.
So Barry Butwell just ahead of Stephen Zammit, who's just ahead of Marcus Prilwitz, on board with Stephen Zammit. You can see that off-season training that he's done is paying dividends, because he looks very much relaxed and in control, focused and sharp as you'd expect. And off the road, Frank Amoroso. The sweeper seems to be the action zone in this race. That's 2 trucks that we've seen off the track there in the space of the opening 2 laps.
Might be a competition to see who can kick up the most dust. I think Frank might have won that one, as he brings the number 96 car backed Kenworth around. Doesn't seem to look as relaxed as what Steve Zammit does in the truck though, does he?
And I think he'll be anything but relaxed after that big moment that we saw at turn number 3, sweeper.
Down the straight they go, Fern leads the way. And I think we've got a replay of Tringali having his moment at the turn 3 sweeper. Let's just see what it looks like from the inside. And this should be quite amusing, I would imagine, as he goes around and gets buried in his own dust.
You could see that on the approach to the corner there, he had the steering wheel turned hard left, but he was just coming in there with a bit too much speed, understeered off the racetrack, and then found that the grip level deteriorated quite significantly, and had that big, spectacular spin.
And now we'll have another look, but this time it's Frank Amoroso going off.
Jay, I'll tell you what, Barry Butwell, who we were on board with, was lucky not to copy him. Barry Butwell almost ran out of road on the exit as well.
Yeah, actually, I might have to take that back. I think Tringali got the bigger dust storm than what Frank did. Now we've got Butwell moving down the inside of Smith. Bit of touch. One way to go around your teammate, or your team rival, is to give him a bump out of the way.
muscles his way down the inside at turn number 1, and Shannon Smith's got more problems as well. Goes off the circuit at turn 2. There goes Stephen Zammit through on the inside. So Shannon Smith copping the hip and shoulders as we get into the middle stages of this race. Stephen Zammit can see Barry Butwell, his main rival, streaking further and further up the road. Doesn't want to give away too much time to him. Robbie Fern's done a really good job in this race, though. Hold on to the lead for as long as he can, but now he cops a bit of a tap from Barry Butwell just to escort him wide. And Stephen Zammit will go through and pick up second place as well.
Yeah, that damaged Butwell as well. I think he was, by that little bit of contact has allowed Zammit to close right in on the back of Butwell. So this is going to be interesting over the next couple of laps.
It's a good battle. We know that both of these trucks have been fast this weekend. We know that Stephen Zammit is the championship leader. We know that Barry Butwell's capable of winning races. Between the two of them, it should be a very entertaining dice. Butwell will not make it easy whatsoever for Stephen Zammit to get through.
Yeah, I noticed there that Butwell seems to be a bit stronger in the braking package, but I think Zammit might be a bit stronger out of the corner. So they've got their pluses and minuses, and I think that's working for them both, and their times are fairly similar. Marcus Pruitt's on board his truck as he fires his way around the track as well.
He's a cool customer, isn't he? And just absolutely loves truck racing. Him and his teammate Barry Butwell. I think if you had to think about the stereotypical truck racing driver, both Marcus and Barry fit that description perfectly. And there's Marcus Prilwitz now, who has one of the light trucks up behind him. That's Craig Yardy putting a bit of pressure on.
Yeah, and I noticed Amoruso coming back through the field behind that as well. Here's our 1 and 2 on the road at the moment. Barry Butwell and Steve Zammit fighting it out, not only in the series, but for this round as well. And it's more important, I guess, for Butwell to get these points this weekend, get himself back in the fight for the championship proper.
When they first built that Max Superliner, the straight line performance was the thing that they were chasing to be able to take the fight up to the likes of Stephen Zammit. The development work that they've done in the last couple of seasons is starting to pay off. They've had their mechanical problems with turbo failures and engine dramas, but when the Max Superliners are running reliably, it is every bit as quick as some of the other trucks, and Barry Butwell's demonstrating that at the moment.
They're not too far back behind them. Shannon Smith and Robbie Fern still at it for position 3. There's been a change there, of course, because Shannon Smith was behind Fern earlier in the race. More drama going on here as well, as we see Frank Amoroso give the hip and shoulder to Craig Yardy and gets past him on his way back up to the order.
Frank Amoroso obviously on the comeback trail after his turn 3 indiscretion earlier on. This battle continues between Butwell and Zammit. Stephen Zammit setting the fastest lap of the race in a 1 minute 14.9. So again, only a tenth of a second away from the lap record that he set in race 1. So the track is quick, the truck's punching out good lap times. Barry Butwell getting down into the low 15s as well. So these two really setting a scorching pace at the front.
Yeah, see Zammit got a better run out of that last corner on the way down the back straight, and then has to try and close in into what I think is a slightly superior braking package that Butwell owns, and heads him across the start-finish line once more.
Stephen Zammit definitely seems to have really good straight line pace. As you mentioned there, Gary, comes out of the corners and accelerates up to top speed really quickly. Barry Butwell, though, able to go a bit deeper under brakes and just cover off some of those overtaking opportunities by carrying a bit more speed into the corners.
Craig Yardy really slides the truck, the little Isuzu, when I say little, little compared to the Kenworths and Max that he's fighting against. Meanwhile, we're back with our race leader, and Zammit's only got a couple of corners, and Butwell's just gone wide out of there. There's a bit of a touch. Is it going to go all the way around? They're going around through the cleavage at the moment, almost side by side, and Butwell's going to try and run him out of room to make sure he doesn't lose that spot. Zammit comes back, or tries to. Only a couple of corners left now, so get out onto the back straight for the last time.
Great exchange, wasn't it, between those two? So Stephen Zammit got alongside. Barry Butwell was probably a bit lucky that the next corner was a left-hander because he got away with the mistake that he made. Through he comes, turns 9 and 10 for the last time, and Barry Butwell is going to just hold on to pick up his second race victory of the weekend, but not without Stephen Zammit throwing absolutely everything that he had at his disposal in the run to the finish line.
Almost threw the truck into the wall in the bargain, but he got it there. Second, of course, Shannon Smith in third. Then it should be Robbie Fern, the next one across the line. And it looks like Pruitt's has just held out Amoroso, has he?
Just 1/10 of a second, the final margin between those two. So Amoroso pulled out at the line, didn't quite get ahead though when they crossed it at the critical point. So really close finishes all the way up and down the field. And here comes Lachlan Fern as well. Good to see that he was back out on the track for race number 3. And he will bring the light truck across the line in at position number 8. And Anthony Tringali, who started the race out of pole position but disappeared in a big cloud of dust after a few corners, he will come across to complete the finishes in position 9. Here's a replay of how it looked out of the final couple of corners. Barry Butwell very smooth, Stephen Zammit throwing the Kenworth across the curbs and running right out across the exit ripple strip all the way to the tyres out of turn 10.
Yeah, a bit of axle trap there coming out of that final corner as he bounced it across the curbs. Here we got it on board Butwell's truck as they come through that final corner. You can see how much exit pace he had, but that wall gets curiously close by the time they got to the start-finish line.
I reckon Zammit got within a couple of millimetres of glancing the tyres there coming out of that final turn. That was seriously close.
Hands off the wheel there at one point. Did you see that? Wow.
Oh.
Excellent stuff from Steve Zammit. Fight all the way to the line, so never give up. It's pretty good terminology.
Great entertainment for the big crowd who you could see standing on the fence there, watching and cheering the trucks on as they came out of that final corner.
Look at that, clapping the winner with Steve Zammit in the truck on the right there. There's our results. Barry Butwell takes the win, and you can see it's just 4/10 of a second or just under to Steve Zammit. Shannon Smith in third, Robbie Fern in fourth, Marcus Pruitt again comes across the line in fifth.
Frank Amoroso recovering from his earlier spin to finish up in position 6. Craig Yardy, best of the light trucks ahead of Lachlan Fern.
I didn't think that we would actually get through the whole field, but we managed to get through there. A little bit of beef and bash, but it wasn't too much carnage, so it was good. The worst one was probably up just after the sweeper. Robbie was just a bit slow into the corner. I've given him a little tap, and then I've been given a huge tap in the back and straight back into Robbie again. So it was like a bit of a ping pong ball. But yeah, we managed to get through it and get around him, so it was good.
Well, we went out starting from the rear with Barry, and going up into turn 1, I jumped over the back of Shannon Smith's bumper bar and we got tangled and we were locked together. So we both went for an infield run, and yeah, so eventually we got unstuck and then we carried on with the race, and yeah, it was quite eventful. So we ended up getting up to the front with Barry and diced it out all the way to the end. So it was quite close on the finish line, but no, Barry just snipped it up and got me on the finish line. So it was all full credit to his team.
Yeah, it was. The first turn was a bit of a circus. I had Stephen pushing me. He was hooked onto me. I think he was hooked onto me anyway. I couldn't steer. It went up the dirt, and then it was all dust and smoke.
Oh, well, it was my first time in the lead, so I got nervous. I was trying to keep up with all the big leaguers, and just went off the track. Too much power. Just try to stay at the back and work my way up, I guess. Or maybe next time if I do it, just don't worry about everyone else. They got to worry for me, I guess.
Getting set for the 4th and final race. Who will prevail in the Super Truck battle? We'll find out the answer to that question after the break.
I'm involved with a charity called Isabella and Marcus Foundation, which is brain cancer research in young children, and we're here to try and raise money for that cause. They're beautiful trucks, each and every one of them is credit to their owners. I wish there was more, and we're trying to gain as many as we can for the cause and for the truck racing. You know, we get people in here to watch the truck racing, more crowd, more atmosphere, and hopefully everyone will come up and have a good time. In price-wise, we reckon about $6 million. That's a lot of money, but as you can see, there's some old trucks here and some new trucks here, and we're just passionate about our jobs and our trucks, and we like to keep them clean.
It's a 1993 Ford LTL 9000. It's got an engine 14 Cummins in it, 15-speed direct with 3.7 Edens on it. So, I've had it for 2 years now and spending whatever I can on it, trying to work it as best as I can, and yeah, that's about it.
It's a 2015 950 Legend. Only 75 of them were made, and I was lucky enough to get number 46 out of the 75. Do a bit of work with it just from Melbourne to Shep. Do Albury every now and again, but yeah, other than that, I'm the only one that drives it, so it's pretty good for that.
It's a 1996 Peterbilt that we sort of bought probably about 10 years ago. It's had about 3 refurbs, and now we're lucky enough to have a driver in it that looks after it, and he's real proud of driving it, so you can see that's why it's looked after the way it is. Oh, I just looked at it on the way here. Actually, it's got 1.8 million miles, so it's done a few. That's why it's had a few rebuilds on it. It's got a C15 cat. It did have it's got an electronic motor in it now. It had a mechanical one, but when that ended up dying, we put a C15 in, which is a more modern type of motor, good fuel economy and things like that. Oh, if you look after them, we've got trucks that do 2 million Ks if you do the right service intervals and things like that. So yeah, you get a fair bit out of them if you look after them.
A great assortment of trucks on display in the paddock, and great to see such a big contingent of spectators have turned out at Winton Motor Raceway, not just to enjoy the on-track action, but to support a very worthy cause off the track as well. Getting ourselves set for the 4th and final race of the weekend, and the scorecard is like this. Barry Butwell has 2 wins to his credit so far. Stephen Zammit, the single race win. It's all to play for in this 4th and final race for round number 3 of the 2018 Australian Super Truck Championship.
And lurking in the background, Shannon Smith, of course, who'll be more than capable of taking the fight up to them, particularly if they get into each other like they did at the start of race 2.
We've seen plenty of panel rubbing action, haven't we? We've seen a few drivers making mistakes, and we've seen that there's not been a whole lot of love lost between drivers when it comes to the panel rubbing. We know that it's great camaraderie off the track, and they all help each other with their machines. When they get on the track, gloves are off, and it is seriously intense competition. Now, the grid positions for this race are going to be a reverse grid race based on results from qualifying. So once again, Gary, it'll be the fast drivers who have to work their way up through the field.
Yeah, and unfortunately for Steve Zammit, he qualified fastest, so he's right at the back, so he's got the hard job ahead of him. His arch rival Barry Butwell will start ahead of him.
It's been great competition between both Zammit and Butwell all weekend. Shannon Smith, we've seen him in the mix in the previous rounds, and in fact he is second in the points, just ahead of Barry Butwell. What can he do in this final race? Anthony Tringali once again on pole ahead of Robbie Fern. Tringali will be hoping for not a repeat of the mistake that he made in race 3. Craig Yardy next ahead of Marcus Frilwitz, then Frank Amoroso and Shannon Smith, and then the fast drivers coming through from the back in the form of Barry Butwell and Stephen Zammit.
It must be a bit of a nervous time for Anthony Tringali, having to head this, knowing what happened in the last race. He won't want the same thing happening again. He's got Robbie Fern alongside of him, and Fern did beat him into the first corner the last time. Can he do it again? He does, and goes straight to the lead.
Tringali just getting pinched up on the inside curb there. Sometimes at the start of these races, it's actually better to be on the outside. You can carry a bit more momentum through. Zammit and Butwell again making contact on the run up to turn number 2. Then Zammit gets forced wide off the racetrack by the driver who's been his arch rival all weekend, and muscling in there on the inside as well. Zammit cops another hit, another tap, and just about manages to hang on to it. Tringali once again firing it off the road as well on the exit of turn number 3, the sweeper.
Certainly not as dramatic as his first encounter. Look at this, as Butwell fires his way up the inside of Yardley and gets that job done. And they don't mind rubbing panels, do they? They're really getting into this.
By the time Anthony Tringali arrived on the scene, it was hard to work out where the racetrack actually was. There'd been that much dust kicked up.
There's more coming off the back straight as well, or the start of the back straight, and now you can see him starting to settle down. Once you get over that initial jousting, I'll call it, because that's what it was like. And here's Butwell trying to go around the outside of Amoroso down into that left-hander. He has to slip back in behind him because just runs out of road. And look who's coming there as well, trying to sneak up the inside. It's Steve Zammit on Barry Butwell. He needs to get ahead of him as soon as he can, at least square the round if nothing else. Doesn't quite do it there though.
He had a great run out of the final corner there, Stephen Zammit, but Butwell just moved it across to the inside. I don't think Zammit had anywhere to go as Amoroso once again has a big moment. Butwell to the outside. There won't be space there, and that has opened the door for Stephen Zammit, who jams the number 1, Kenworth, down the inside and moves ahead of Barry Butwell. That's a critical move.
That's a fantastic move. Sees the opportunity to get through, gets it all out of shape at the very next corner, but holds on to it. And now Amoroso, they're all into it. Amoroso goes around. Butwell's caught up into it. There's dust and soot and smoke and you name it. And 2 trucks stopped while the race continues.
Oh, that's a bit of a shame for Barry Butwell because he had such good pace in the previous 2 races, but he also lost an enormous amount of time there, being caught up in that incident. So it was Zammit who got into the back of Amoroso. Amoroso spun, Butwell had nowhere to go, and Amoroso, by the looks of it, might have copped a bit of damage in that contact and has not been able to get restarted. Let's have a look at the replay and see how it all unfolded.
Well, Lee, you can see that Amoroso led the way. Then we got Zammit out of shape, but then straightened it up to try and go down the inside at the next corner. And then, of course, Amoroso went a little bit wide. I think Zammit checked up and Butwell thought, well, I can get through here, but unfortunately there was a spinning Kenworth coming back across his path and the rest were lost in the dust.
I think it was on the approach there, it was almost a case of Butwell getting into the side of Zammit and pushing him into Amoroso. As you mentioned there, Zammit was pretty loose on the way into the corner, and Shannon Smith was involved as well. So Smith actually got into the back of Butwell, who got into the side of Zammit, who got into the back of Amoroso. So it was a bit of a chain reaction.
Here we get some in-car, in-truck footage of it.
So this is on board with Stephen Zammit. Look at how much opposite lock he was applying on the way into the corner. He missed Amoroso there. Bang, there's the hit from Butwell, and then Zammit into the side of Amoroso. Amoroso was the unlucky one who got turned around and turfed off the racetrack. And look at Amoroso looking out the right-hand side driver's window, steering left, steering right, trying to get it back under control. In the end, he took his hands off the wheel altogether because he was getting belted from pillar to post. And a fair bit of that dust that we saw getting kicked up found its way into Amoroso's cabin as well.
Bit of damage on Robbie Fern's right mudguard as well, but he's still going, I'd say, and the rear as well. It's got a bit of damage on it. Might be about flat there, maybe.
So in all of that drama, let's not forget, Gary, that this is the battle for the lead that we're watching at the moment. So Robbie Fern and also Marcus Prilwitz have capitalised on all of that drama, but Robbie Fern's not going to stay in the lead for long because that right rear tyre is rapidly parting company with the rim, and Marcus Prilwitz and also Stephen Zammit will be lining up and relegating Robbie Fern back in a real hurry. Oh, Prilwitz has got down the inside, but I think he's running a bit wide on the exit. And you can see there in the background that Zammit is looking to find a way through, as is Shannon Smith.
Yeah, unfortunately Fern has to bow out of that as the race continues.
He's not giving up, Robbie Fern. I suppose that's one of the things about having dual rear wheels, isn't it? If one of your rear tyre goes, you've still got 3 other ones.
Now we've got Zammit on Pruitt's as they come up to complete another lap. Goes down, tries to go down the outside, just no room there. I suspect he should get good drive off this very last corner and try and slip it up the inside. No, he's going to go outside, and that might be enough for him to get past as well. Looks like he carried that momentum through. No, had to pull out of it. It was offline, couldn't quite do it there. So Pruitt would like to make this his race if he can, and it'll help his teammate as well.
This is some great defensive driving from Marcus Prilwitz. He's making that Max Superliner really wide. He's driving it down the inside of every corner. He's going to make Stephen Zammit work ever so hard if Zammit wants to get the lead. And what that is allowing as well is Shannon Smith to buy into this contest as well. Zammit's going to have to get a bit creative for this. He looks to the inside, but once again Prilwitz takes the shallow line into the corner up there through the top end complex at turn number 5, and Zammit will start to do a bit of Morse code on the rear of the number 31 Coburg Truck Parts Mac as he tries to figure out a way of getting himself through into the race lead.
Now he's just thrown it away. Got too much oversteer out of that corner. It's allowed Zammit to run down the outside of him. He may be able to pull this move off now with that extra momentum he got out of the corner. Gets in on the corner, so he must be ahead. We only had the in-truck camera to see that, and certainly he has. So Steve Zammit finally gets to the front of the field after his win in race 1 and 2 seconds, and a bit of a brush trying to get past Prilwitz was Shannon Smith there. Didn't quite do it though, wasn't quite close enough to force the move after that initial contact.
What we normally see once Steve Zammit gets out in front is that he's very hard to run down. And with positions as they are at the moment, because of all of that time that Butwell lost in the altercation that we saw heading up into turns 4 and 5, it's looking like it's probably going to be Stephen Zammit's round win as well. Of course, Butwell's still got a bit of time and a few chances to make up some more places, but Zammit looking pretty good in terms of the overall weekend results go at this stage.
Yeah, Prilwitz is doing a pretty good job there. He's got a little tap to let him know that Smith wants to come through on this, and he'll give him another little bump as well. The Morse code is getting out the window and it's getting a bit tougher, i.e. hitting harder to try and get past. And Prilwitz is doing nothing wrong. He's guarding the line all the way down, but in the end there, Shannon Smith tries the outside. Unfortunately, he's heading off the pit lane. I don't think he intended to go there, but ran out of road to go right, so had to go down the lane and lose another pot. And this could work in the favour of Barry Butwell now, because now that he's rejoined ahead of him, he's had an opportunity to pick up another place.
This is not a bad recovery drive for Barry Butwell. He's cleared the trucks of Robbie Fern and Craig Yardy, and he's now not that far behind Shannon Smith. So you have to give credit to Marcus Prilwitz there as well. The defensive lines that he was driving, it was making Shannon Smith get a bit frustrated. Smith took a risky decision to try and make an outside passing manoeuvre at the end of the back straight. It didn't pay off. He made a mistake and he fired it off the road. And Prilwitz, you would have to say, now looking pretty comfortable in P2 heading into this final lap.
Yeah, and well, that's what teammates are all about. You help where you can, even if it means that you've got to drive a bit defensively, and you make sure that your opponents are held up and your teammates are coming through, and that's exactly what happened. Now, can Butwell do anything about Smith on this, the final lap? We know Zammit's out in front, Prilwitz is in second. This is where the battle is now for third spot.
He's already carrying a truck with a few battle scars, is Barry Butwell, so a few extra knocks probably won't worry him too much. Coming out of the last corner though, picking up the round win to complete his perfect score for round victories in 2018. It's another weekend win for Stephen Zammit, who extends his championship lead. Marcus Prilwitz, great defensive drive to finish up in second position, and Barry Butwell has got ahead of Shannon Smith in that final complex of corners to move up into third position, and he will take second overall for the round as well.
And Robbie Fern just across the line in front of Craig Yardy to fill out that position. Bruised and battered the trucks were this weekend, as we see Lachlan Fern and the Tringali truck come across the line astern of each other.
The confirmation of your race results. It's another race win for Stephen Zammit. Prilwitz, Butwell, Smith and Robbie Fern, your top 5. Then it was Craig Yardy, followed by Lachlan Fern and Anthony Tringali, with Frank Amoroso, a non-finisher after the damage that he sustained in the incident early in the race.
Oh yeah, it was definitely a struggle. I definitely had to work for that one. We nearly ended up on its lid going through the sweep. I think it was up on 2 wheels, so I lucky to save that one, and we just got on with it. And you know, I think we were the lucky one who survived that big incident at the top of the track. So I'm very lucky with it.
The carnage that was happening behind me worked in my favour. That's about the size of it, and yeah, I think it was a terrific race. For the entire race, I had to work to hold my spot. Yeah, really happy with the result. Yeah, really good.
Oh, just the traffic in there, I don't know exactly what happened, but somebody gave me a hit into that top corner, which pushed me straight into Stephen, and then that pushed him into Frank Amoroso. Amoroso spun around in front, and it's all just a blur from then, just whack, whack, whack.
Oh, I'm not sure, but I got, she was a pretty big hit. I think it was bigger than one of Elvis's hits, I can tell you. It's torn the bits over there. You can see it's torn a tail shaft out of it. Bent all the torque rods and everything. The diff's all hanging there with some chains, otherwise it all would have fallen out. So hopefully we can put it back together enough to drive it up on the trailer. if we're lucky.
One round remaining in the Super Truck Series for 2018, and it's a 44-point championship lead to Stephen Zammit, but it is close in the contest for second, with just 3 points separating Shannon Smith and Barry Butwell. Lachlan Fern currently the best placed of the light truck drivers in 5th position.
Not much in it though. Craig Yardy just behind him. Then we've got Robert Fern, Frank Amoroso, of course, having a shocker. We'll be back there anyway.
Well, Barry Butwell made him work hard for it, but Stephen Zammit got the job done in the end, and he heads to the final round of Wakefield Park on the 10th and 11th of November in a commanding championship position. Hope you've enjoyed all of the action from round 3 of the Australian Super Truck Championship from Winton Motor Raceway. On behalf of Gary O'Brien, I'm Lockie Mansell. See you next time. Bye for now.